Yo, yo. What's up? What's up, party peoples? What's going on? Okay. Hey, what's up, Chris? Okay, we are... Let's see, how do I want to do this? We're going to turn that off. And we are going to, let's see here. So we're going to watch the interview, but I also, what the fuck? Okay, you can go back down there. Okay. And okay. So, shit. There you go. Okay, I don't want... Oh, boy. What happened here? Okay. Excuse me. All right, so we'll have that playing over there. I'm going to be playing over here. That's kind of small, actually. I know, but then it's going to take up the whole screen. Like that. We'll see if that is good enough. Hey, Ben. How are ya? Okay. So we're going to do it like that. Let's see how that pans out. Is that good? That's good. All right.
Coming soon. Coming soon. Well, that's
Path
fantastic.
of immersive shooting.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic. You've had, let's say, a busy first week after the Point 2 launch. This is, I guess, the start of your Monday, right? The start of week 2.
Yep. Yeah, it's Monday in New Zealand.
Of the new patch. I hope you got some rest over the weekend, first off. And
I feel like we should just start with, so how we feeling?
Yeah.
How we doing?
Well, I mean, yep, it's been a week for sure.
Oh my God, Cole's so
and it's
funny.
like, I would definitely say we've never had, like, I mean, so we've had a few cases that have been close to this, I would say, in the past, in terms of like, like the community being very unhappy about a lot of things. But this one was certainly taking the cake as far as that is concerned. But I mean, at the end of the day, the response is always the same thing, right? Like, we hear what people say, we try things out, we see if we, like what we agree with, and then we try to find solutions that are going to fix, any kind of problem that the community have, and we keep on doing that. We keep iterating. I would say one of the things that that's been going on this time is there's certainly like an urgency at the moment to feel like, okay, we have to make sure that everything we're doing, we're like telling people that immediately. So we certainly wouldn't post like patch notes every day normally. So normally, of course, that stuff's sort of happening in the background. But we really wanted to make sure people are understanding the fact that we are kind of like looking into these things and improving things. So that's certainly been a bit of a ride. But like, I'm certainly a believer that the more we do that, the more like the people will will effectively be happy once we've made fixes to all of the different things they're unhappy about. The hardest part, honestly, is just identifying the problems.
Right.
And
yeah.
I think
I can tell you them all, Jonathan.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where, like, so for example, like a lot of people were talking about like monster speed, and it's like, okay, so when people are talking about that, they're talking about getting swarmed by monsters, right? And so then it's like, okay, well, why do you feel like you're getting swarmed by monsters? And then one of the things that we found, which we
because they're on steroids,
last week, is there was this system that monsters had where if they were doing like a multi-part combo, then there was a thing called an interrupt event where effectively, like, if the player got out of range of the monster, they would interrupt doing that skill and then continue chasing you immediately. And that means that effectively you didn't get a chance to kind of like if a monster starts attacking, like they're doing like a sort of 3-hit combo, they'll do the first one, you'll be backing off from that, and then they'll immediately start running again, and then immediately start the combo again. And so that kind of thing just makes them feel incredibly frantic.
So
Like just like certain monster types that
almost,
just have that real frenetic kind of frantic feeling. And so we disabled that on almost all monsters as an example. And like immediately it's like now when you're fighting those monsters, like even though like we haven't changed the speed of the monsters per se, we just found the thing that made them feel ultra fast as you're fighting against them. Yeah. And it's kind of like it's really just a continuous sequence of like finding things like that.
No, it's the speed thing.
When you
I don't know what he's talking about.
We have like a lot of monsters in our game, like huge numbers of them. I mean, the eventual count of monsters we will have once we exit early access will be over 700. But even now, I think we've got over around 400 or something like that. It's like a ridiculous number compared to what most games have. And so it's like, you go back to some of these monsters and it's like, I don't even remember what was going on with this monster when we developed it. You know, it's like this was a while ago. Like I don't know what's going on. So the monster guys kind of have to have a look at these things and sort of refresh their memories and like, okay, what the heck is it? How's this thing even set up? Like, what's even going on with this thing? Yeah. Let's find out. So there's kind of a lot of that going on. So
hey, what's up, Dennis? Amy, wee kiwi. How's everyone?
It just takes a while to kind of like assess these things and work out. So we did our first batch of those types of changes last week, but we're still sort of looking into things, and like those are the kind of the more obvious ones. But honestly, with a game like ours, like the more you look, the more you find. Like there's sort of an infinite ability for like problems to hide in the ridiculous amounts of numbers and animations and sort of things like that. So it's just a matter of finding everything, and if we can find everything, then I have no doubt that people will enjoy the game much more.
Is that
speaking
just...
of
go ahead, Zeke.
Just speaking of all those monsters, I'd be interested to learn is there like I wonder if there's like a shorthand, like for the like certain groups of monsters like Bruce, Chad, Doug, like these are the monsters like that, like so you don't say like epic beast from the hell pit of blah 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 blah. So you just say like that's Dan. Or that's
they do have internal names. I don't know if Dan is one of them, but they do have internal names, and that'll just be whatever the artist happened to name the folder when they were creating the model in the first place. Like just whatever they happen to choose, that'll tend to be the name. And
okay.
There's certainly some kind of random ones in there, but that's for the data miners to find, I suppose.
Are any of them hilarious?
Yeah, is there a Chad?
I'm sure they are, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. I think at some point, so in PoE 1 actually,
damn the harbinger of hell.
Some of the like the boss of Act 3 is just called Pope. So like there are things like that because I think that's what they were looking at when they were designing it. But it's like I think in PoE 2 they actually started to get a little bit more rigorous with trying to make sure the names aren't super out there. So yeah, most of the names are kind of not too out there, but generally speaking, I mean, look, almost everything's going to have a different name than what it's called in the game, just because the naming part is like the last part. And usually, and even on like streams and so on, I'll often refer to things by their internal names, like even just areas and stuff like that, because that's what they're originally called.
Hey, Zarkor.
Anything in the game?
Oh, you learned them, yeah.
Mobs feel slower?
I
don't think so.
No, not at all.
All right.
I don't think so.
Nothing like that.
I want to go noob Saybot in this.
Just watch my gameplay for a while. You tell me if they're slow.
I want to go back to what you said in terms of like the monsters and finding what's wrong. And is that just purely a numbers game? Like, are you constantly playing the game, reading comments? Like, how do you attack that when you're, when the internet is screaming? How do you like cut the noise and figure out exactly what is actually at fault?
Well, the key thing really is that I'm never going to make a change unless I can reproduce the suck for myself. Like I'm not going to just believe someone when they say this is bad. I'm going to like say, okay, so you're telling me that's bad. Great. I'm going to play this. I'm going to try and get to a situation where I can understand why you're feeling this way. Because if I don't do that and we just make random from the hip changes, then, it's not going to result in a game that I'm happy with. And that's kind of important because, in order to make the game good, it's really important that the people who are at the top level are playing that game every day. So, you know, like I have to be making a game that I'm enjoying. So effectively, like I need to be finding the things that are going to like make the game more fun for me and the players without making it less fun for me effectively. So
Right.
that's kind of the key for me, I suppose. So, you know, when it comes to that specific monster change, I mean, I have to admit that was actually like Mark who discovered that one, not myself. But you know, the that particular.
I got to take that in for a second. He's gonna make a game that's fun, but not fun for him. Did he say him? What does he have to do with? I got to think about this for a second. What does his fun factor have to do with the game? Are you guys reading it the same way I am? Like he said that, right? He's not going to make a game that's not fun for him. Oh, looks like I got a guy. Looks like I just made 3 exalts. Where is it? Gold circle, right? Come on, buddy. Maybe it's that he won't be passionate about a game development if he doesn't have fun with it too. I can understand, but fuck, that guy took forever, man. All right. Jesus, we actually sold something. I think what he means, he shouldn't do changes that is fun on his perspective. Should be to do a fun game for many players, swallow ego and stuff. I think same as I understood it. It's like cooking a meal for your taste. It's fine, but others will not like it. Too spicy, less spicy. He could work tirelessly to fix every problem, and people would still complain. That's different, Ben. Like, you know, you're never gonna get away from just people being toxic. I totally agree. I just don't understand. Like, I hope Sir Groovalot and Zarkor are right that, you know, I get it. You don't want to be reacting to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I totally agree with that. But for it, you know, it's the part that if I don't like it, then, you know, I'm not going to do change. Like, that's kind of the one that's kind of, maybe I'm just being too, I'm hanging on.
Particular change is kind of one of the. And by the way, the area that you're showing on screen right now, like that is an example of one of the monster sets that did have this problem. So like those monsters, yeah, were like incredibly vicious. Like it's just a matter of like, okay, let's play this area. Let's try and like a variety of builds. Let's see if we can find a build that like that feels overwhelming and bad and that kind of stuff. And you've got a lot of blind spots when you're playing as a game director because you know how to play, right? So you have to like often set challenges for yourself of like, now I'm going to play without this, now I'm going to play with this thing. Like one of the key things that's really important as well is I'd like to do run throughs where I pick the thing that I would least want to pick. So whenever the game presents me an option, I pick.
See, this is where this game has a problem, okay? The problem is they know how to play, they know what to play. So they're going through the game not effortlessly, but much better. And I'll tell you how I know that. As many of you know, I started Point 2 as a huntress, and I was basically playing the tornado shit, and I was doing my own build, right? And having a horrible time, right? But I'm like, I want to learn the game, I want to make my own build. Now I struggled. I got to Act 2 in 7 hours, and I put her on the shelf. I'm done. I'm not like, this is going to be like a 100-hour campaign. I'm over it. Okay. Boom. I go to what I know and I play this Deadeye, and I'm loving it, right? Because I have power. It feels good. Anyway, I start hearing about all these builds with the huntress that are OP. Lightning spear, yada yada. And I'm like, oh my God, like really? So off stream, I go back to my huntress and I'm like, you know what? Let me play Lightning Spear and Herald of Thunder with it and this and that. And I'm fucking whistling while I'm playing. Like, I'm not like one-shotting anything, but I'm actually progressing through the campaign, and it's not as painful as it was in my first playthrough. So my point is, this is the problem, because many players don't follow the meta. They want to make different, unique builds, and they run into this problem that so you experience the bullshit in the game. So it's a combination of two things. Number one, there's no build diversity in the game. And number two, there's some things that need to be addressed that make the game no fun if your build isn't doing damage quick enough. And we don't have the crafting material to get us there. So it's a combination of a lot of things. But he's going in the studio knowing what to play, and clearly playing the way that it should be being played, disenchanting everything. And it's a different experience. But I think it's wrong if a game punishes you so obviously, if you don't have a powerful build, you should feel some pain. But in this game, it's like deadly. And I think that speaks to the problem to the game, in my opinion. Not enough items and stuff to make off meta. Yeah, exactly, Sir Groovalot. I hate the problem with 01, did my own thing, and Chula Monk playing Poison Bow. Hey, Mando, 90% of the skills aren't rotation worthy. Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a problem. And if we go on PoE 2 Ninja, what is it? 80% or 70% are playing Lightning Spear, I think. Like, that's a problem. I understand it's a new class. Get it. But it should be more than one skill in that class. And there are. I heard what's Bleed? Is it Bleed? Bleed is supposed to be good, but what am I? Oh my God, the map is complete. Anyway, let's hear the interview.
The thing I most don't want to pick, and then see how it goes.
Sure.
And that can result in obviously you do have to have like options that you can make where you can make mistakes, but you still have to understand what the lowest bound is as far as like, if I picked everything bad, if I'm doing all the worst ideas here, what kind of experience do I have? And so that's something that that you also
Called those streamer runs, by the way.
But it is different. I mean, okay, but it's interesting though, because I think that is one of the things with the Huntress, I think that's been really interesting is that, and this is maybe going to sound a bit bad, but it's like most of the time when I'm watching a streamer playing the Huntress, they're playing it not as I would play
Judge
it.
me, Jonathan.
You can say,
tell me
okay.
that I suck, Jonathan.
You can
I
say
wanna hear
wrong.
it.
You can say that. You can be like, most of the time I watch streamers play the Hunters, they're playing it wrong.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, look, at the end of the day, though, it's like, okay, if people aren't like playing in a way that I expect, it's because we haven't communicated the way we want people to play it, or people have tried it and they've not enjoyed it and that kind of stuff, right? So that's, at the end of the day, it's always on us still. But it's, it's just one of those things that well, you learn a lot from playing. And I think it's interesting as well, because when I went into this launch with the Huntress in particular, I was kind of like, look, regardless of any other changes we made, regardless of any content, I was like, I know the Huntress is fun. Like, I've been playing it, and I really, really love it. Like, it is my favorite class that we have made.
Oh.
So then
Patriot
that kind of
switch.
then took me very by surprise when there were a lot of concerns about the Huntress at the start. It really comes down to those sort of play style things, right? Where like, with the parries and the and disengage, like the whole like sort of in-out gameplay style, like I was really, really enjoying that. And a lot of our staff are as well, right? Like we've got a lot of people who are like, yeah, man, this is really awesome. Like it's got a sort of feeling of action that we haven't had, like from the other classes to the same extent. There was that kind of stuff. And so, it was really interesting that we had quite a lot of pushback about that. So then it kind of, once again, it came down to, like we need to try the play styles that we're not trying. Like we need to, I need to try doing things that I wouldn't otherwise try, and then find out why, if those things are the problem.
Sure.
So out of curiosity, and this is going to sound like a basic question, but I'd kind of love your thinking on this. When you get to a situation where you are having to personally choose between something that is more fun or more balanced, how do you approach that?
So on the development team, I would say I'm usually the one who is pushing for more fun over more balanced. There are also countervailing opinions on the team as well, for like people who have to who have to make sure that the balance is good. And it is important.
They're probably like, no, stop having fun. Balance.
That's not the way that I would look at it, but it's kind of like, so I mean, I definitely push in that direction, but it's kind of like, at the same time, there is this concern where I always want the game to be readable and understandable and kind of be able to sort of see what's going on. And so sometimes like there's a level of stuff that I tend to be a little bit more like, I'm a little bit uneasy about this, but I tend to be the one pushing for like, everything should work. If you expect it to work, it should work. And, like you should be able to do all these combinations and things like that. The issue that you get is that if there are things that are just way more powerful than other things, then it's going to push everyone to play that, and that's going to mean that you sort of lose build diversity, and then there's a fun that you're losing from that. That's a little bit harder to immediately identify, but it is important. Like there's a kind of long-term fun that you get from the fact that you play this game, and there's so many different things you can try, and it's not immediately obvious as you're playing your single build on a single playthrough, where you just want your thing to be powerful. But it's like, we just have to like get to some level of balance and stuff along those lines. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm kind of like, let people be able to do crazy stuff. Like that is important to me. So long as it's kind of like, like so long as you get that feeling of progression all through the game from beginning to end, effectively.
Cool.
Sure.
Very cool.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about streaming your own gameplay? Would you ever like open up the
Yes.
Almost
Could you ever
Pandora's
show us how to
box?
play a Huntress?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
just to
thought
see.
actually
Like I see that question so much from the community. Like, well, how do you play it then?
Yeah.
And I think it would do well.
This thought crossed my mind actually in the last week, I must admit.
Yeah.
Good.
And I kind of realized, I think what I'll do next time when we play, like between the week where we announce, like do our live stream and announce the class, and the time when we actually like have the release. I think I actually might do some development streams and just
Yeah.
like sort of show people my gameplay. It's
I think
interesting
that'd be
because
awesome.
Hell
yeah. I mean, like I guess there's no real reason I shouldn't do that. Like, I mean, it's probably.
I mean, you're going to
probably a
get
fine idea.
criticized, of course, but like,
Of course.
you're going to do that regardless of if you stream or not.
Well, I was
right?
going to say you're already halfway there. I mean, your outreach to the community and doing these interviews with all the people that you have. I mean, you're essentially doing that already.
Yeah.
So just doing it while playing is the next step. But yeah, that'd be
fair enough.
instrumental. Like I got to say, it would have been very interesting to see the Huntress release after having seen somebody who knows the ins and outs of it utilize it effectively. Because I can tell you, the first hour, I was just like, okay, wait, am I supposed to do this, or can I just do my one button combo, or am I supposed to like? So like it's so different and fun, but it was alien. It was not my. It was not like I'm not used to this, so I didn't know if I was doing it right. So it could be really
Well,
cool.
the thing is, I mean, I'm like that feeling of this is alien is actually something that I want when we release a new class. Because if we're not doing that, then we're not actually making new classes, really. If you know what I mean.
Sure.
Like it's kind of supposed to be that each class has a different feel entirely. I mean, like that isn't necessarily always going to be 100% the case to this degree, but yeah, certainly as far as action RPGs are concerned, I don't really know if there's something quite like this in another sort of like, you know, in what you would in the action RPG system. When I refer to action RPGs here, I'm talking about top-down Diablo style games, right? That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot else, you know, like this type of combat around. So you know, then that is what we want to do. And I guess the thing that's interesting as well is that I sort of also suspect that if the Huntress had been in just the set of characters that we had launched at the start of early access, it would have also been quite a different feeling then as well, because then it would have just been like, okay, here's one of the options for the people who like this kind of like parry and really fast motion type of play style. You know, like we're sort of bounding around and doing, you know, like dexterous melee. And that would have been, because I mean, they're like the people who love that. But then obviously there are people who are like, you know, I find parrying awkward. I don't like, you know, this or that or the other thing. Then for those people, you know, like obviously other classes may be better. So if it had been launched in that same pack, I think we might have got quite a different reaction from that class in particular. Of course, there's like many other things that people are unhappy about as well, which we're kind of working on.
Sure.
But, you know, like that, in terms of that particular like class reaction, I think that would have changed things quite a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned pairing, and as someone who has about 60-ish hours on the Huntress, currently tier 15 maps, I haven't parried since I was like level 10. Is that a good thing or a bad thing for you to hear that a player just completely disregarded maybe the core element of a core element of the class for you?
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing, I suppose, but it is something that I think that it was a blind spot for me, because when I was playing, like all the way through, I was using parry all the time, because that sort of parry disengage into using a spear combo is something that I was using right from the beginning till the end.
Right.
You know, so that like I mean,
spear,
the idea
maybe?
of that was, you know, like you unlocked all the things that you can do with the with the twisters and stuff like that. And so I think that because we added that extra skill like right after launch, that means that no longer is that combo. Like I don't know if you're using that either, that color weak skill, but you might just be using frenzy charges from other source, because that's the other thing as well, is the frenzy charges then become sort of easier using other sources as you go through the game. So I'm curious if are you using frenzy charges at all is the first question.
No. I never
You're
said
not?
I'm
Okay.
a good build. Okay. So,
Sure.
full disclosure, in PoE 1, I probably have like 2,400, 2,500 hours.
Right.
Never done my own build. I've always followed a guide. In
Right, I
PoE
see.
2, I've never followed a guide just because of how the game's released with its updates. There's not really guides to follow. So I kind of just like picked things that I enjoyed. And so this time around, I'm using like Spearfield with bleed and knockback. Rake and is it
Right.
Herald of,
So you're going
Herald of
all the
Blood?
bleed. Okay,
Yeah,
so
more bleed, more explosions
More
and,
bleed. Okay,
and things like
sure.
that.
But look, in that case, like the bleed sort of style of the Huntress doesn't really rely on the sort of parry stuff. But if you're doing the elemental stuff or the whirlwinds, then you definitely want to be getting frenzy charges and doing that whole thing. And yeah, like effectively, we didn't have a way of getting frenzy charges for the first kind of like 50% of the campaign effectively in an easy manner. So that was kind of, and effectively that meant that if you wanted to do, unless you were going bleed, then if you wanted to use all of the elemental spares, you effectively had to do the parry stuff in order to get frenzy charges.
Right.
And so but what we effectively did to ameliorate that, if people didn't want to parry, there was adding this cull the weak skill that allows you to get frenzy charges anyway, and that means that you've got access to that whole side of the build, and it is powerful, right? Like those enhanced spear throws are, you know.
Oh,
like
Call the Weak with Lightning Spear was crazy.
yeah.
A lot of
But I
fun.
mean, even the other ones as well, especially because what they do is they, for the other ones, they all unlock ground effects like fire and lightning and stuff like that, which then you can infuse with your into your whirling slash, which you then use with the twisters. And so like that kind of stuff is like my primary, like the build that I played all the way to end game. Because you know I don't actually have time to play literally every build to end game. That'd be completely impossible.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
Development time. But the build that I was playing all the way to end game was using the whirling slash twisters, and then with barrage as well, like which means that you can get like a huge number of twisters. You know, that like using ground effects. So that was effectively my like the build I was playing, and that involved using the parry to kind of get it started. But then I also was using Fangs of Frost to freeze monsters, and I kind of had two variations of the combo. Like you could either parry into Fangs of Frost if you wanted to have like if you wanted a faster combo for like more like just clearing, or you could use like parry disengage for more for longer fights against rares or against like bosses or something like that. So that was kind of like what I was doing for like through to end game. But I mean, you know, like obviously there's like, you know, we try other things, we, you know, have a lot of different experiments, but there's actually this phenomenon that's like kind of annoying, which is that unless you actually play a class from the beginning, there's something about it that just doesn't quite work in testing. Like it's you never get the same feeling unless you actually play through on the character. Like if you just make a character and at end game, and then like you're like, okay, I'm going to put all these skills on it, and you sort of feel you might think that you have the right idea about what the items should be, but somehow it just never quite feels the same as when you've leveled up yourself. And so I actually don't tend to do that very often when I'm playing. And I honestly, I don't even know if I can fully explain why that is. But there is something important about that process that kind of gets you to a state of a character. And like,
well, it's because the character is not just a thing. It's the experience you have playing it to where it is. Like it's when you have a PoE character, it's like, because we've talked about that frequently, because like one of the reasons of using builds or having a character played for you, which I know is kind of a hot topic with shared accounts and stuff. Thanks, Elon. But it's you know, it's very much, I feel the exact same way. It's like a lot of RPG. You got to have the whole experience to understand every ability, every class. Now I know understanding it's not part of you, but still for it to be yours and your journey and everything, you kind of have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, there absolutely is an understanding of abilities, because once again, if I, like, even for me, right, if we create an ability and then I just try it at a high level without actually doing a playthrough that earned it, like, so this is actually one of those things, by the way, that actually was, okay, so the reason why the Huntress, I mean, this is true of any class we didn't add, but the reason why the Huntress wasn't ready is we had a bunch of abilities that were effectively designed without doing the playthroughs, right? Like we would make an ability, like this is before, right? We'd make an ability, we would put it in the game, we'd try it on a character that we had pre-constructed and be like, oh yeah, this ability, you know, like does this, right? But like, until we realized at some point that like, when you actually were playing and then you got the, like, when you were actually playing and then had the ability to select it for yourself, it completely changed the vibe of like how that skill felt like, you know, it's like, it's important that you actually test the part where you're actually trying to weave it into a build that you've got going through. And so without that, you actually don't even have really an ability that you've actually tested and know that's good. And there are even like some abilities I would say still in the game now that that didn't get enough attention from that part of the experience. And so it's something that I think we can actually improve even on some existing classes as well, with some abilities that were like maybe like a little bit rushed or things like that. So like, yeah, like that experience is actually important. And I actually think that the Huntress's abilities as far as like that experience is better than some of the other classes for this reason, because I was spending more times because I was specifically this whole time from the time when we launched early access till now kind of doing playing Huntress and then sorting that. It kind of meant that it got even like more individualized attention than what I think some of the other classes actually got in that way.
Yeah. Would you say that's how you're going to treat the time between every patch moving forward? Did it feel like that was constructive enough and a proper way of spending your time? I guess is how I'll frame the question.
Well, I mean, the issue with that, of course, is that I wasn't paying as much attention to other things that that were problems, right? Which is definitely a concern.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting because I think that one of the issues that we had. Okay, so I'm gonna blame Christmas This is what I'm going to blame for all of our problems here.
Oh my
Fair
God,
enough.
the war on Christmas continues.
Yeah.
Oh no, here we go.
Santa Claus,
No.
we're coming after you.
So what happens is that, so we release early access, right? And then we've got like 3 weeks before everyone's off in their break. And during that 3 weeks, we're in this mode where we're like responding to problems and we're like trying to fix things and everything happens. And then we've got like 3 weeks where, where Christmas happens and everyone kind of goes away. We've lost the context of even being in the mode of like, we're responding to what the players are complaining about kind of thing. And it's like, bear in mind as well, at the start of early access, that like, 7 out of 10 people are talking to me are being like, oh, wow, the game's amazing. It's so cool. Like, because what they're doing is they're playing through the game for the first time. They're experiencing all the bosses. They're experiencing all, just the graphics and the art. Like everything's cool, right? So they're all like, oh, wow, the game's amazing, right? And so you got a bunch of people who are also
honeymoon stage
talking about problems. And those are real problems, right? But they're being drowned out by the positivity of like everyone experiencing this new game for the first time.
Sure.
And so like nothing that the players are complaining about today is something that people weren't complaining about back then. It's just that they weren't the loudest voices in the room at the time, and now they are.
Right.
So effectively, like you've got that thing, and so effectively, so after Christmas, right, we come back and we're like, okay, we need to get this Huntress out. I'm going to focus all my efforts on getting this class out that we're doing, and by then it's like. We kind of had our eye off the ball, as it were, about like what are the issues that are sort of happening in the community as much, because we're like, okay, we're focusing on this next expansion. Like that disconnect, I think, was a real problem between like those two time periods. And so this time, I'm actually, and it seems obvious, but it's like I'm actually taking time in the scope doc for the next patch. So I mean, we've obviously got a document which is like the scope for 030, right? Like we've got a document for that. We sort of know what we're planning on doing for that. We've got in that scope document at the very top, like, make sure the players aren't going to be unhappy about this. Make sure the players aren't going to be happy about this. And like, just like, here's like 6 things that we just want to make sure, like, we're actually doing something about this, as we're considering, like how 030 is going to come together, so that we don't kind of make that mistake of like kind of forgetting about all of the things that are sort of outstanding issues, as it were. And so, I think that shouldn't be a problem again next time. But like I guess that's kind of like the main thing, right? It's just making sure that we don't like forget about the fact that as we're making content, that we also need to be like addressing those kind of like underlying issues as well. So that's kind of what we're doing there.
Yeah.
Speaking of like getting negative comments and negativity generally, when you're making a new
get him, Zeke, get him,
addition, a patch, whatever you want to call it, to the game, like, do you have like a meeting with your crew that's like, okay, this is going to make some people mad, so we're going to batten down the hatches and we're going to weather this storm, but we'll come out the other side of it because in the long run, we all believe that it's a good change. Like, is there a lot of that shit happening?
I wouldn't say that it is like that exactly, except for so here's a discussion that we did have.
Oh, yeah.
So effectively,
spill the tea.
So when we launched early access, we had a whole bunch of things that were out of control as far as like balance is concerned. Like there were just some things that were just trivializing shit in a way that was bad.
Yeah, thanks for nerfing my build.
What we started doing,
appreciate it.
Right
But
at the
lightning
start, was we
spears
started
that OP.
nerfing those things. Right, we kind of was like, okay, this is early access. We're gonna nerf a bunch of things, and immediately we got like huge pushback from that. And understandable, right? Like for me, it is understandable, because if you're playing like actively and then someone nerfs what you're doing, you're going to be unhappy about that, and rightfully so, right? Like I was playing and now my character is ruined, right? And the funny thing is that what we thought we were doing, even when we were doing that, like we're mindful of this, right? Like we even thought as we were doing that, like, okay, we're going to nerf things, but we're not going to nerf them to the point where they're bad. We're just going to nerf them to like, we're going to have some like upper bound of like what we're allowing, and we're going to try and just nerf it down to that point. So like the stuff that people is playing that, they're playing because it's part of the meta, we're just going to, we're not going to nerf it even as much as we might want to. We're just going to do like a temporary nerf to get this thing kind of like not trivializing shit. So that's what we thought we were doing. So we started doing that, and we did that for like, I don't know how long it was. It might have been like a week, honestly. And then immediately it's like we just got huge amounts of pushback from people. So we're like, okay, we can't do this. So like, how are we going to be able to do all these changes that we know we need to make in order to kind of get things more in line? And the reason why it's important to get things in line is because we need to, as I said before, we need to make sure there's build diversity. Like you're not only playing like one of like a few just a few things. And so for that one, we definitely knew, look, whenever we've done nerfs in the past, it's been, it's caused anger. And so then we're like, okay, but in order to offset that, we need to make sure that we've got things like, a new class, that we've got like new in-game content, we've got like enough new stuff that people aren't going to dwell on the nerfs as much, or at least that was the theory.
That didn't come
now,
till
in
reality,
April. There was a kind of an effect that I don't think I had appreciated before, that kind of now I think is kind of also another source of a lot of issues, which is that like we made a bunch of people who thought, and maybe this is going to come out slightly wrong, but like they thought they knew how to play the game, feel like that they suck now, and that is a bad feeling.
Well, they learned
right?
one
That's
thing and then you changed the thing, right? Yeah.
Right. So effectively, it's like there were a lot of things that I would say were like, well, okay, effectively any change can do this, right? It's like if you've got a thing and you know how you're playing a thing, and then we make a change where now the thing you were doing before sucks and is bad. Now your immediate feeling is like, that like I know how to play the game, and yet this is sucking, so therefore the game is bad. And like they're not necessarily wrong to feel that way either, right? Like making people feel like they suck is a feeling that nobody is ever going to enjoy.
No.
Right? Like it's a feeling that is bad. So effectively, like that is the thing that we effectively did to a bunch of people who were relying on the various things that
Now you're overcomplicating it, Jonathan.
Now
you're
the good news is that now that we've gotten things into a much more,
you nerfed builds. And what you should have done, and what you're going to do, because it's been released now, is you should have, first of all, you should have paid for the respecking of Ascendancies, because you literally nerfed Stormcaller. Like, I can't even speak. Like, they literally nerfed Ascendancies. And people played all that time. Like, I didn't feel like I sucked. Well, I feel like that all the time. So nothing you're going to do is going to change that. But what they should have done is they should have, made the cost of respecking. So all the builds that they nerfed, players could actually respec. What the decision I made wasn't, oh my God, I suck, I'm not playing. Oh, fuck. I'm not playing Sorceress anymore. No, you want to know why I benched my character? I benched my Sorceress because I didn't want to fucking spend all my gold. And actually, I did try it, and I wasted half my gold. And I'm like, screw this. Why am I spending my hard-earned gold in the game? Because they nerfed my build. So I said, fuck it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going to do another character. And that's what I did. I did my Deadeye. My Crossbow Deadeye. It wasn't because, oh, I suck. Chat, shut up. I know. I'm not even looking at your comments. I already know what you're saying about me sucking. So that was the problem. The problem was people they didn't do anything. Hey, we nerfed these builds. Oh, by the way, eventually they ended up lowering the cost a little bit on respecking, and they tried to make it up after everyone was kicking and screaming about it. That's what sucked about it. If you're gonna nerf builds, those specific builds require an out in order to change the build. Not that they suck and they feel bad. No. I don't think so. At least that wasn't me. Yep. That's the one, Mando. Yeah, it was such a nice build. Anyway. But I'd like to know what anyway, whatever. I'm sure they have a good reason. Look, they have a good reason for doing what they need to do. I'm just being a little bitch right now, but because I really loved that play style. But anyway, that's what the problem was. Did I fucking finish this map yet? I think I got to go. Oh, there he is. They should signal better than, I hate to be that guy and say, but PoE 2 is confusing. How much armor, reduced damage, how evasion work, why my resistance goes down during campaign, what the fuck my ascendancy skills do. Well, Zarkor, every game reduces your resistance. There's a penalty, resistance penalty every time you move up the chain. Yeah, I got a better weapon. Let me put it in. And what the fuck? My gear is all red all of a sudden. Oh, I lost 3 points of dex. And now my belt can't be weared, which means I lost 10 strength and can't wear my armor, which means get the fuck. Hey, man, that's the balance. Hey, it's a lot easier to get out of that situation, Zarkor, in today's version of the game. Mid-season nerfs are meh. Yeah. Anyway.
Sort of normalized place as far as like, you know, think like the outliers are not too crazy, like everything's kind of in a more normal place. That means that we can actually start looking at things from the perspective of like, okay, now we can buff things to make them more fun. We can do all these things, like we can improve stuff. But we did have to get to a point of like somewhat normalization in the balance. Like they did have to happen.
And by the way, guys, I'm not going to let it slide. The fact that they released early access and they went on to the first update, right? The fact that they did that during such a big period and said, well, we didn't really have a, you know, we kind of let the players play and we were working on the next update. Well, part of early access is that you are looking at the feedback day to day, especially when a game just gets released, right? So to me, like, don't let that comment slide. We are in 2025, a month into early access. You haven't even done the next update yet. That just shows you how behind they are. Again, my speculation, maybe I'm fucking being negative Nancy here, but it just goes to speak how they are shooting from the hip. And this is why the players are like 2 months ahead of the developers. And they got their eye on the future. 90% is out there, 10% is what's going on. You know, that's it's launching in summer. Oh yeah. I'm going to start apologizing right now. All my YouTube videos on Path of Exile 2 end like this. Whenever my videos talked about, you know, early access, coming out of early access, and I'm still sticking true to my prediction, guys. I'm saying early access. It's going to be a December out of early access. You know, Jonathan prefers, you know, back in the day, that's what he's saying. You know, we prefer not to go past 2025 to get out. But that's out. I'm apologizing right now. I was dead ass wrong. This game is not coming out of early access in 2025. Unless a miracle happens. So I was dead ass wrong. This game is not launching in 2025. Yeah, I know now. Now I know, but the game didn't warn me. That's the problem. Yeah, I guess it doesn't tell you until you.
I honestly don't know if there was a way we could have done that would have been fun for people to experience. You know, like,
yeah,
when you nerf like everything players are doing, it's not going to be a fun time. Like, it's just not going to be.
So wait, based on what you said, hey, Reddit, nerfs are done. No more nerfs. No, we're good.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
We've been notified. They're
good. Yeah.
speaking of things that make me feel like I'm shit at the game, the ascendancies, specifically the third and fourth.
Yeah.
How do you feel about those
The
right now in the current
trials, the
stage of
trials.
Path of Exile 2? Because
Um,
for me personally,
so-
the third one is brutal. Like, I abhor doing it. I abhor everything
So
about the
there's-
process.
I think that is mostly around monster work. So ascendancy monsters are quite hard. Well, okay, specifically Sanctum, the monsters have got a like you effectively have to design every monster in Sanctum like a boss in terms of telegraphing and all that sort of stuff, and it takes quite a lot of work. Like it's harder than a normal monster to make, and there's more we can do there, because that was also one of the last areas that got the monster work done before early access. I think it's probably got some of the roughest
That explains
monster work as well.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot that we have to do there, like to just improve it. And like we're sort of slowly doing some of that work, but I don't think we did enough of that in the last launch that we just did. So there's more to do there, and that's all those like just devil in the details type of work where we just need to sort of just improve monsters to feel better, and we'll get that over time and it'll be done.
Oh, take your
but,
time.
effectively,
Aren't important.
we just need to keep on doing more. That being said, like it is supposed to be the case that Ascension is supposed to be like a point in your character where you feel like, it is supposed to be harder than the content that surrounds it. It's
Give me a
supposed to
break,
be like
Jonathan.
a moment of
Stop with
feeling,
this get good shit.
like you earned something
We
here.
don't
Like
want
if Ascension was just a
easy.
pushover, then it's like, well, yeah, you don't get that feeling of earning it, right?
Right.
But at the same time, there's definitely monster problems that we have in that.
No
in those,
kidding.
in
That's
those,
what
both
we're
of the
talking
Ascension
about.
classes. Ascension.
We're not
trials,
talking
Trials,
about
yeah.
give me a layup.
It was for me specifically, it was the Sanctum, and I didn't like Sanctum in PoE 1, so there's that's a problem to begin with for me, like a personal problem. And I know a lot of that can be fixed with like the get good mentality, and for what it's worth, I ended up getting good.
JP,
and,
if you were playing Huntress, right? I mean,
yeah, I ended up getting good and I ascended, and I got the power that I wanted from that. The process was to just experience that. It wasn't to like go in there on the first try and get the ascendancy point like it was in PoE 1 with labs. It was to go in
I'll
there,
settle for possible.
get some honor
exactly.
resistance, kind of build up the actual relics and things like that, and really get involved in the process. And then I ascend. Is that always going to be that process to where you
how many runs
have to build up to
how many
it?
runs did it take? Is the question I have for you.
4, with one of them being under leveled because I was just farming relics.
Right. I would say that
I think 4.
I would say 2 or 3 is more than what I would want for the third ascension. Well, to be honest, probably for the first few, like that sort of 2 or 3 kind of zone is kind of more what I would expect. Is right. But it obviously it sort of is dependent, right? Like a good player should be able to do it in one once they know how to, once they know how to do that stuff, or they know what the build is like. And that
you
sort of
mentioned it. Some of those mobs just are brutal, like the sandworm mobs. Those things destroyed my honor, especially if I'm fighting like a rare summoning portal or something, and having issues killing them in the first place. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, some of the monsters are just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to like individual cases and that sort of stuff. Like we just have to make sure that they're all good. And as I said, we've got so many monsters that it's like hard to even, like it takes a long time to go through this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Something that really like sunk home to me just now, like just recently during this conversation, was like the fact that it's still in early access. And it's weird to think that. Because it seems like such a polished, finished product. Like, even though obviously it's not done yet, but like even my 50 hours in it was like, oh, this feels like it didn't feel like an incomplete game at all. It didn't feel like early access. So I think we tend to forget that it's still in early access, and we forget that like that we agreed to buy it in early access, so we should be. I mean, I'm not trying to like kiss your ass or anything, but like we should be more forgiving. Right?
I actually don't fully know if I even agree that because a player, like, we don't have any right to a player's forgiveness, really. Like, at the end of the day, like, people have the experiences they have, and we just have to live with that. And it's like, I mean, look, if we're going to sell a product, then, people should have the expectation they're going to enjoy the product that they're buying, right? Like,
Right.
you know, like sure, we call it early access, and that it is, right? Like that is a label that does something as far as like player expectations is concerned, and that is important. But at the end of the day, you still have to deliver a product that people are enjoying. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, from that perspective, like I can't be unhappy when people are like, I can't use the excuse of, oh, it's just early access when I'm talking to players, because at the end of the day, like that's not a constructive thing for me to even say. Like it's like I need to be like, okay, well, what's the issue? Let's try and find out what you don't like, right? I guess one of the things that being an early access does mean, though, is that, you know, like there are a lot of people who won't play something that's an early access until we're saying that it's fully finished, and so that's kind of part of what you do get from being an early access, is you get to kind of, you know, like you get to effectively limit the number of people who are playing until you're sort of ready for that big, you know, for that big surge of players that you'll get for release.
Sure.
So you know, and that's the thing. And so like from that perspective, it's a very unusual early access, right? Because we had so many players. Like I actually wonder like how many like pay to play early access games have even had this many sales. Like it might be kind of quite up there as far as that's concerned. So it's quite unusual.
A rare few. Yeah.
It's quite unusual in that regard.
Well, is that so? Using the current 0.2 patch, specifically like the Wisp mechanic. The Wisp mechanic is. Would you call that like the League mechanic? Like what was the bullet point next to Wisp within the design document for 0.2? I'm curious if that is like. I'll stop the question there and let you answer, then follow up. Yeah.
So it didn't rise to the level of being a league, like what I would call a proper actual league, because we didn't have all the things that a league has, right? Like leagues have, I mean, it almost kind of got there. Like, you know, they've got crafting systems, they've got meta systems, they've got like, you know, like there has to be some way, like there has to be an in-game boss, there has to be all these things. Like some of those things we didn't have.
Yeah.
So it didn't rise to the level of being a league, and that's the reason why we in the end decided not to make it a league. We were kind of thinking it could be league-like, but we just didn't quite have enough going on with it. But the primary reason why we did the Wisps actually was because we wanted to make sure that there was more content in endgame that overlapped with other content. So one of the big things that was lacking in PoE2's endgame was not enough like overlapping axes of randomness, is the thing we call this, where effectively you've got like different mechanics that overlap.
They wanted more layers,
so that like you can get more situations that you've never seen before, where it's like, oh, what if the, you know, the Wisp happened to happen to inhabit this boss, and then that's a different thing, or it happened to be near the strongbox, or, you know, like this, like effectively like multiple things that can overlap together to cause a new combat situation. And so, yeah, as I said, the reason we picked the Wisps was because we wanted something that could work like that and have more content that worked like that. And that ultimately will lead to an improvement in the end game. And I think a lot that sort of, as far as the content outside of the Huntress, it was that sort of stuff that we were trying to get there.
Right.
In order to improve, you know, like, yeah, just effectively how the end game feels. So we'll probably be doing more of that over time, like when we're concentrating on that kind of more league-like mechanic.
They have to.
That's the stuff we'll be looking at.
They have to do stuff like that, guys. It's like not everybody likes vanilla. Some people like chocolate. Some people like strawberry. Like it just allows you to capture more people, right? And at the same time, it's just layering the content in the game, right? You're not just gonna have fucking 3 things in the game. People are gonna get bored quickly. So the more kind of stuff you have like that, you know, one thing will a bunch of players will gravitate and like Wisps, you know, and hate whatchamacallit, hate the Rogue Exiles, but there'll be a percentage of the player base that's gonna like the Rogue Exiles and not like the Wisps, you know. So, but overall, you're keeping certain portions of each of the player base happy to a degree. So it's a smart play in my mind. Like, it's really smart. I want bubblegum with Wisp. I ran over you. Thank you for the follow.
Yeah, so is it, do you find that to be a hurdle given the history of your PoE1 updates, the leagues, the expansions? all of that being brought into PoE 2 while the game is still in early access, to where there's like these two, progress paths of like, we got to make 0.3, we got to introduce another class, we have to set,
Right.
PoE 2 is not a finished game, but also we've set expectations because of people being brought over from PoE 1 with these like expansions and these leagues. Is that is that a hurdle? Like, do you kick yourself at night for like, fuck, we set this up and now we've delivered on it before.
It's a live
we got to
service
do it
game,
again,
bro. I don't
however
know.
many times until the game's out of early access,
a live
until those
service.
things align.
It is a concern, but I think that it's actually important, even regardless of whether or not we were in early access, because
Their live service.
the end game needs to have enough content at launch to make sure that people are really engaged. And like, end games are one of those things where like every action RPG that comes out, people complain that there's not enough end game content. Like, it just happens every single time.
Happens with any game, yeah.
So, yeah. So effectively, what it ensures that we will have when we come to the actual full release is that we will have a lot of end game content. And so I think that like, and so okay, so like when the next release we have, like for 030, we'll probably like turn down the wisps in the campaign, and there'll be some other thing. And like when we get to eventual release, like there might only be a few wisps in the campaign, and like it's one of the many different random things that you can find that just effectively serve as just like interesting things that you find during the campaign. That's what it will feel like there. But then during the end game is like an actual mechanic that you can then engage with and have more stuff going on with. And so effectively it's expanding that universe of stuff that that can exist in the end game. And without I think that it would have been very hard if we didn't have early access to have been able to create the amount of content that an in-game needs just kind of off the cuff like that. We need like so many different overlapping systems. Yeah, I think that's sort of important.
Sure.
To have a situation like that.
To be blunt, how long did like the Wisp mechanic take for development process?
I don't. It's hard for me to even quantify because you've kind of got like a whole team, and it's like I don't like.
There's no without answering like man hours, I guess.
Dude, it reminds me so much of Abyss. I actually wanted to ask if it was related.
It's actually a little bit of a. I mean, it's more like the Tormented Spirits in PoE 1. But it does work more like Abyss in the way that the spirits track and go along a path. So it fixes some of the issues that the Tormented Spirits have. But I mean, I wouldn't say it took like that long, really. Like we actually like decided to do them like not even really that early in 2.0's development. Like it didn't really take that long. I mean, consider what we needed to actually make that happen, right? And this is one of the things is that I think we are very good at as a company is like being able to leverage what we have. So what does it take to make wisps? So the actual effect for the wisps
he's
themselves
gonna answer it.
is obviously like made of particles, so there's no like modeling involved in that. The animals are all animals that we had that we could do like a few animations for to make abilities. Like like we had a bear model, we had a deer model, we had like all these different things. So like those are all things that we sort of had. So we can utilize those in a completely different context that you would never see as being the same.
One to cross
in terms of the actual ability stuff, I mean, you've got VFX work, like, but not necessarily more than like a boss would take. Like it probably took about a similar amount of VFX time as a single boss might take to make that stuff. And then you've got the various mechanics around like, the programming time. I mean, it wasn't really that hard. It's kind of, like, I mean, I wouldn't say it really took that long.
Okay.
So yeah, like it's a relatively easy feature to make. And I feel like you get a reasonable amount out of it. And so it's just a question of, making more things like that, just having interesting stuff to find.
So is it safe to say that alongside, new classes and all the other like early access updates, that's the type of stuff we can expect moving forward for 0.3, 0.4, and so on and so forth?
Yeah. We'll definitely be adding more content like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. I want to go back to when you said, obviously PoE 2 super, super successful in sales and player base. I think at launch, you guys averaged like almost double, at least Steam count players on that. How hard is it for you to like take all of those new players, and I'm going to use Zeke as an example, and I'll give you a backstory there. Zeke bounced off of PoE 1 pretty hard. He even had Ziggy running him through it as kind of a Sherpa and bounced off of it pretty hard. But with PoE 2, and I think he told you this prior to us starting the interview, he put like what 60 hours in it, Zeke, or something like that.
Yeah, 55.
How do you make a game for the Zeeks
60 hours?
but also
nothing.
keep the Zizerins involved? Like, there's a huge disparity in the type of players that those two are. How do you satiate and succeed in making a game like that? Or do you feel you've already done that? Or is that the forever problem?
Well, I personally... Okay, so if you imagine the sort of Venn diagram of this, as it were.
Okay, yeah. Zeke
You know,
and Ziz, the
Yeah,
circles.
where you've got like the things. So the question you're effectively asking is there any overlap there,
Yeah.
right? Like, is there a place where the game can be that both of those players are happy with it? And I am a believer that yes, there is.
There should be.
Now,
a good game would.
I think there are a lot of players who would say that there isn't, but I still believe that there is.
Okay.
Personally. And that is the thing, the target we're attempting to hit. Now, the difficulty of that is that we're attempting to hit a smaller target, right? Because like if we have to nail the dart right into the intersection of those 2 points, then that is a smaller target to hit, which means our job is more difficult. And I would say that balancing PoE 2 is actually much harder than balancing PoE 1 has been. But I think that a lot of the reasons why Path of Exile 1 had people like you bounce off them is not necessarily the same kind of reasons that people, that PoE 1 players are unhappy with PoE 2 right now. I think that those reasons are just incidental complexity that never actually mattered. Like, I don't think that anyone is like crying out for PoE 2 to use PoE 1's like gem socketing system.
Nope.
Like, that is not the criticism that PoE 1 players have.
Nope.
And yet it was like a huge thing that caused PoE 1 to be hard for new players. So it's like there are changes that are just straight up wins for one group that don't affect the other group, and that's the kind of changes we're trying to make to kind of make it so that you're just like things are less complicated, like are nicer to play, like those kinds of things. And so like my hope, like I really don't think that the sacrifices, I don't think there's many sacrifices a PoE 1 player should be having to make to play PoE 2, and I really don't think that should even be how the PoE 1 player should look at it. I believe that there really is an intersection there where we can make both groups of those players like happy about the game.
Yeah, it's not easy as well. I mean, it
isn't easy.
Companies fight for that.
I have kind of a follow-up that I know you guys have talked about this extensively in different formats. I know you've been on all sorts of podcasts, but just to kind of get it all in one place, kind of building on the question JTP just asked between like the strongest, most educated players and new players, and that kind of Venn overlap. I'm curious on your perspective on the overlap of your end game players and how you guys are approaching that with PoE 1.
Right.
So like one thing I've noticed is if you kind of had two sides, you have like the more faster one skill gameplay of PoE 1 on one side. And then you have the kind of more slower, more difficult, more methodical
Jonathan.
PoE 2 on the other.
Good question, Cole.
And again, feel free to kind of dance around this question as much as you like. One thing I've noticed a lot in the PoE community is that there's a lot of people that fell in love with PoE for that first style. They see PoE 2 kind of moving a different direction, and then they see PoE 1 like not getting quite as much love as PoE 2 as they see it go into the distance in a direction they're not digging. How are you guys tackling this? Where you have players who are like, speed the game up, we want this more, but that kind of goes counter to what you want to do with this, and you kind of have that other option available. Like, do you try to bring the PoE 1 players into PoE 2, or do you purposefully differentiate them for different experiences?
Well, First of all, I guess the main thing is that it's incredibly unfortunate that the slowdown in PoE 1 development happened, because it wasn't our intention to do that. And so my belief is that shouldn't be a problem after the next expansion happens. Like that we're trying. I mean, look, we might fail, but the goal is not to fail, of course. Our intention.
That's a great goal.
The intention is still to update PoE 1, and it's like there were certainly sacrifices that happened that affected the PoE 1 audience as far as that development is concerned, and that's definitely bad. And like it's bad that happened. Like it wasn't our intention to do that, and we did. You know, so like,
Hey, Dalbro, how are you?
like if you're a person who likes PoE1 and you're not interested in PoE2, we still want to have PoE1 there and getting support like it always had. You know, like for that, like that is a thing we want to do. But that said, I still don't want to give up on the idea that a PoE1 player can enjoy PoE2 as well. Like I really do believe that can be the case.
Oh yeah.
Like I really do believe. Like I like both games. Like I do. Like I like PoE2 better, but I still like PoE1, and I think that should be something. I think that can be something that can be true for a lot of players.
So oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, so is there, do you guys have any type of specific specialization you'd like to do between the two products? Like make it so like, if you don't like this, you might like this. Like from a design philosophy standpoint, are they going to go in different directions to cater to different audiences? Or are we always going to see them kind of move in parallel as you explore different things between the both?
It just isn't really the way that I think about it, I suppose. Because like I tend to think that like I look at individual things on an individual level, right? Like
hallelujah, here it is.
And I think this is the thing that has frustrated a lot of people in the community when I talk about this stuff, is that like, because I tend to be like, okay, it's not that I've got some design philosophy where like this is the amount of speed that the game has to have and this many, you know, kilometers an hour or anything like that, right? It's entirely like
they get hung up on that. I mean, I do it as
yeah,
well,
yeah. Like,
right?
is this fun or isn't it fun? And like, do you feel the power up is progressing or do I not feel like that, and so on? And it's like, I guess the only thing I can point to that's like completely certain to me is that it shouldn't be that when you watch a stream of a player as someone who's never played the game before, that it looks like something that is completely incomprehensible ridiculousness. Like you have that thing where it's like I don't want it to be like, if a person looks at someone playing the game even at a high level, it should look like, oh wow, that character is ridiculous, but it shouldn't be like, I can't even visually understand what is entering my eyeballs here. You know, like that's that is really the only
that was my first time ever watching.
Anytime JP played a clip on this show of him playing PoE, I'm like,
PoE1.
It's like trying to fucking figure out what the Tasmanian devil is doing.
Dude, I'll never forget the first time. First time I saw it, 2 times. First time I saw an endgame mapper in PoE1 that actually knew what they were doing, and the first time I saw a flicker strike build. Were 2 of the most memorable PE things I've ever seen. But no, that makes perfect sense.
To be honest, you still kind of understand what's going on with the flicker strike build. Like at least you kind of have an understand.
Sometimes depends on how many mobs are on the screen.
I mean, that speed exists here. Let me pull up Fubgun's stream. Like the PoE2 or PoE1 speed.
But immediately, right? You understand what is happening on the screen right now. Here,
yes,
right?
you see the lightning bolts going out. You see the mob. Yeah. It's not quite like just a Picasso of fast images.
Exactly, right? So it's like, and this is the reason why I'm always hesitant. People are like, are you wanting to slow the game down? And then it's like, well, I mean, I want to be honest, this is not even as fast as it can go, right? Like, so, as I said,
sounds like what people are saying is they want the game sped up at the beginning.
Sure, some people do say that, right? And that is I think a bit of a difference. That might be, well, so this is an interesting concern, right? Because the other thing as well is even the term beginning means something entirely different to some players than others. Like like some people will tell me, oh yeah, like, you know, the monsters have too much life in the early game, and then I find out they're talking about like Act 5, you know, like effectively Crawl Act 2, and it's kind of like from their perspective, that's the beginning of the game, right? So it's like I think that we did have a problem with with issues like in the sort of mid campaign. The other thing as well that we have an issue with is right now we still have crawl difficulty, right? And so the game does drag in crawl difficulty if it's like, you know,
that's going to be a good change before, like, when we get all 6
you know, we had this back in PoE1 in the early days, but you know, the game does start to drag in the second time you're playing through the campaign. So
good point.
Just not having that problem will be a massive boost as well.
Absolutely.
You know, once we roll the acts and everything like that. So
yeah,
I'll tell you this, like as a, you know, first time player, first time going through, I played all of my 55 hours with the same character and stuff like that. I was like
55 hours.
I was totally like, I don't think the beginning acts need to be sped up at all. However, if I wanted to go through it again, which is kind of the game's designed to do that, go through it again with different characters or different builds in mind, whatever, then it would feel slow because I've done this. And like, that's like for a brand new player like me, the speed was fine at the beginning.
Right.
But like, I could totally see myself going through the same act again with a different character and going, wow, this feels like I'm trudging through a swamp.
Right.
I think, yeah, that's like a PoE 1 issue as well. That's been, I mean, have you guys thought about changing that at all from PoE 1? Like, what's the thinking with that?
Changing
Well,
what exactly?
well, the biggest comment
instance,
that we all get is like, do I still have to do the campaign? Like, just to completely cut, like, do I still got to do the campaign?
Yes.
Like, is there going to ever be
Don't get rid.
shortcuts,
No, don't.
skips,
No
alternate
skips.
routes?
Like,
Don't
one-
do it.
one
Don't
big
do it,
thing-
Jonathan.
Is respecting time.
No,
Like that's
Right.
that. Like a lot of
Don't
people feel
skip.
it in PoE 2. It doesn't respect necessarily the time, especially compared to
What
PoE
is
1
this?
because how
Diablo
slower it is.
4?
So are we going to have like a cumulative effect of not only having this much larger, much girthier, slower campaign, but then
He won't do
also
it.
having to repeat that multiple times?
Yep.
Well, okay, so I guess the part that I sort of
He's not going to.
would say about that is that at the end of the day, and
Give
this
it
is
to
kind
him.
of the way that I tend to think about things, it's like if you're saying that you're not enjoying the campaign, then that just means the campaign needs to be better,
Yep.
right? Like it just like we,
Even if it's like the
like, I
15th
like, I
or
understand
20th
like
time
on
they
an
played it.
Well, I understand, but on an intellectual level, it's easy to say, okay, I'm not going to enjoy playing through this again, and that might even be true
We
with the
found the
campaign in its
nexus,
current state.
guys.
But I am a believer in the idea that you can make something like this compelling enough that it is fun to play again. And part of the reason why it is because when we have leagues, there's a different thing going on with the campaign to kind of mean that, like it changes your perspective on, like what things are. And in an ideal league will actually affect the content that you're playing as well. Like it'll make it feel like a different play experience. And then there's also the fact that you're playing a different character class. It has a different feel. Like there are bosses where like they feel completely different.
Oh,
like
man, the
there are a lot of the
campaign
time
is
there'll be
part of the
situations where
journey.
like, okay,
Thank God.
you'll play a boss with one type of character, then you'll play it with another one. It just feels like a completely different thing. Like this boss, I just trivialized it. It was easy the first time I went through. This time I'm having it's like just due to the way that my character is, it feels very different. So I guess what I'm saying is that like it's certainly not helped by the fact that we've got 2 copies of the campaign in the game right now because it meant that you played through it twice. Like the first time you
That's
played through
going
it.
to go away. And they're making.
But
They're
I believe
Act
that it is
3
possible to get the campaign
shorter,
to the point where you will be
like the
fine
map
playing through it. And
size,
it's like
that is.
ideally the
So-
experience you're having is just fun. And I mean, like the PoE 1 campaign, I mean, like it does get stale over time eventually, but like it's still something that people play through again and again and again. And like the reason why is it's there to host the other content that we also add every time, right? Like it's there to be the place where you do all these things. And I don't know that if you just started level 1 in endgame, like I'm not really sure that would be like that different.
Jonathan,
really, like I mean,
cut this
like, at the
question
end of-
off,
okay,
bro.
like why are you playing a game again at all? Right? There's like 3 reasons you could be doing it. One reason is to experience the new content that we've added. And because of the way we add content in leagues, like you can experience that in the
He's
early game or
talking
the
to
end game.
3
So it doesn't kinda change anything
streamers
about that. And
that
another reason
play
can
a
be that you're
game
playing a different
a
character class,
different
in which
game
case you
every
still
day.
need the experience of like leveling it up and
So,
going
yeah.
through and like sort of learning the abilities and growing with
If
you.
it's no disrespect to the
So
3
like I don't know
streamers
that
on
like
there, content creators.
starting
They're
in the
all
end game would
amazing
materially
content
change
creators.
that really.
I don't
like,
know.
It's just a
It's
question
me
of like, are you
JP
having
too
fun doing the
much.
thing you're doing?
Okay, so just to push back a little bit because you have a very unique project here,
No
and I want to
pushback,
understand this better.
Co.
So
You
you
play
said you
a
want the
different
campaign to be
game every
engaging,
fucking
but at the
day.
same time, like it's designed to be played. Like it can be engaging, but anything you do 20 plus times, like you're doing the same thing, hearing the same voice lines, doing the exact same pat. Like even if you're engaged, it still seems like it would just get super repetitive. And the other thing that I think, which is interesting here, is PoE is not one game. PoE is 2 distinct different games. It is the campaign and it is the end game. And a lot of people don't want to play this first one a bunch of times, but they really want to play the second one a bunch of times, which means they have to slog through the first one a bunch of times to get to the part they like, which immediately
5
changes
hours,
what this
7
would
hours.
be.
Here's where I think that I disagree about that is that I don't see those as 2
Stick to
separate
your
things
guns,
in the same way
Jonathan.
that I think that that you necessarily are saying there. Because ultimately, like, okay, like you said, anything that you play through 20 times can get boring, and I don't disagree with that. But then at the same time, in the end game, you're playing through the same map 20 times.
But you're coming
like,
back to the season for like the new mechanics, the new changes. So you come back.
You know what, Zarkar? You're absolutely right. I think it would be worse for the point you raised. People, if they were to skip the campaign, immediately go to maps, they would be bored quicker. You don't have the connect. This is gonna sound cringe, but when you build a character from the campaign to maps, there's a connect. I'm laughing just saying it. There's a connection you have with the character. Okay, like you built this thing, right? It's like building a car. You know, like. I don't know. I love the grinding. Like I love the journey of getting stunned. Of the camp. You know, don't get me wrong. I don't want a 100-hour campaign. No. But I like starting from zero and seeing how I can progress, how I can build. The drops we get. You know, the rush you get when you get a godly drop and you're like, oh my God, this is going to completely change my character right now. You know, there's a lot of dopamine hits that we get during the campaign. Unfortunately, in PoE 2, you know, it's far and few between, but I think I really do think they are going to address that eventually. But this skip mentality, bad idea, in my opinion. Super bad idea. This is not Diablo 4. Oh, I guess we got to put the interview back on. Campaign is a good thing, but too long of a campaign is bad too. I agree, Eric. It's got to be a good balance. Cone needs new glasses. He doesn't see the vision anymore. Just dropped a Divine and Cruel. Nice, MeWe Kiwi. Wow, I didn't know Divines existed in this game anymore. Awesome. GG's. All right. No, there's no way. There's no way we will have a skip campaign in Path of Exile 1 or 2. Guaranteed not happening.
Or the new stuff. But you only get to that stuff
is also available in the campaign as well. So if you're going to make the argument that playing through the, you know, like what I'm saying is like the only difference between the campaign and the end game is the order in which you play through areas is fixed in the campaign and isn't in the end game. Like that's really the like, you know, like, and okay, but the other difference being that you've got more of a mix of mechanics where you've got like you know, like different, like there's more overlapping mechanics that are happening.
Not to mention every new league there's new mechanics.
But I don't know that even in a context where you were like if you imagine playing the end game from level 1, I don't think you could just introduce every single thing like right at the very beginning of that either, right? Like you have to have on some level.
You I mean, like we were talking about earlier, you'd have to have that character growth, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like there would be some kind of middle ground for like you do the campaign once per patch or league, and then your second campaign is like shorter, or maybe you have all the exits already marked on your map before you get there.
A league,
no,
yeah,
Jonathan,
so within a league, so like every
him,
time
man.
you do a new
That's
character, like the campaign
right
vicariously gets like shorter and shorter and shorter, not necessarily in due of content, but the player's ability to get through it.
No,
but like one thing, for instance, is like, you know, players have contests and how fast they can get through the campaign to get to where they get. It's like that World of Warcraft episode in South Park where they spend, you know, 40 weeks leveling up to get to the real game, which is the end game.
Right.
So it just seems like for players that are in that perspective, it seems like there should be an option.
Nope.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, one of the things as far as like multiple
Jonathan, use your
playthroughs
good
of
comment. Come on.
within a single league is that I think that players are maybe not happy enough with the level of like of like power leveling items that they're getting, because like the theory is that you play through the campaign, once you go to end game you've got a bunch, like you get a bunch of items, and now your second playthrough is way easier because you've got a bunch of items that you got from before. And so I mean that should more than double the speed that you're going through the campaign,
and
like,
familiarity
very easily.
If
so
you're
like,
good enough of a player to know to save that stuff. But yes,
Right,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
but
those
even
of
just
us
having
that
currency
don't
in
play
your
a
stash,
different
like
game
and just
every
buying
day,
things on trade,
That's
think about it.
like as you level up is also going to get you a crazily different experience than what you'd have the first time through. Just because you've got all that currency that you got, and like you're definitely saving the currency at the very least. So
True.
it's like that should theoretically make that work. And so if that's like, to the extent that that's not the case, like we might need to improve things there. Like I know a lot of people are saying that like some of the level, like there's like various reasons why like leveling uniques aren't good enough and that kind of stuff, or like a lot of unique options and that kind of thing. Like that's the kind of stuff that can help a lot there, I think. So and that also can be another type of experience that's also fun to have, like because that is your experience of just completely obliterating everything as you go through, like using these ultra powerful items.
Read your mess.
It is also an
Oh
experience
my God,
we want
bro.
players to have too.
I can't summarize.
So like that's the kind of thing that ideally is the solution to that.
Cool.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you for answering these questions so just transparently and candidly. I really appreciate
No
it.
problem.
Yeah, I both this and not necessarily a question I have, but last week's interview that you did with Zizarin. If you guys haven't watched that in the audience, definitely go check it out.
Yep.
It was a bit heated at times, and I think
was,
you made
and I feel bad about
comment
that
to
because,
but I still think it was a fantastic conversation, and the changes that came from that, whether they were directly responsible, whether the podcast was directly responsible for that, for the patch. I'm glad that whole conversation happened. That was great.
Yeah, it was certainly responsible for some of them, because at the end of the day, like we do need people to bring specific things to our attention. So basically, like that was just useful because, and it's also always easier when you're talking one-on-one with someone, because then you can ask questions about like, okay, well, what's actually happening specifically here and that kind of stuff. Like that's always important. It's similar to that example earlier that I had where
Hey, Nex.
like with the specific monsters that had specific problems, where it's like, okay, people are like, monsters are too fast, and it's like, okay, but what monsters is the question, right? We have to find out what like what the specific issues are. So,
It's
All of them,
like,
minus 20 across the board.
that's the thing, right?
it.
That's what a player will say. That's what a player will say, and it's like
It's not an answer.
That's why it becomes difficult. And
Yeah.
honestly, the issue that I had when I was doing that interview, and like part of the thing that obviously I was like low on sleep, and there was like a few other various compelling.
It was a week.
Well,
like it was an interesting week.
It was a week. Yeah.
But one of the things that was happening that I really need to take care of when I'm discussing this stuff is like, you don't like, if someone says like you should make all the monsters slower. Oh no, I think the specific thing there, like as an example, was like, okay, like I don't remember the exact wording of the question, but it was something like, there shouldn't be any monsters faster than the player, effectively. Like that was the thing. And like what I did was I launched into defending that, rather than just talking about the fact that, okay, we are actually looking into a bunch of monster speed issues, and we are actually like going through all this stuff, and it's like that's the answer that would have actually been much more like what the players wanted to hear, if you know what I mean. Right. Rather than like, let's have a philosophical discussion about why it's important that some monsters can be faster than players sometimes. So like that's the kind of thing that
different answers for different audiences.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's like a very different situation.
I mean, you mentioned, I think that goes both ways, right? Because you mentioned like players screaming X needs to be fixed, but not the specifics of what X is. I think as someone who's talked to a lot of developers over a myriad of different games, it's one thing that we have to get better at is just like actually honing in on what the problem is, or what we think the problem is, to be able to identify that.
I don't know. I mean, your job is not to be a game developer, right? That's our
right.
job. So,
that's very true. But we could try to be better at it, because I suck.
It's our job to yell at you for your poor decisions.
I suck.
That's what our job is.
The thing is, but
What's
what I will
going
say
on?
is that like, but on the other hand, if you're in our QA department, now it is your job to actually get specific about individual things, right?
Boys,
so like
I'm
that's one of those
shit.
things that
I think it goes both ways.
It's also one of those things that when people enter QA, they have to learn about like that kind of stuff. It's like, it's not enough to just say like monsters are too fast. You actually have to say, well, like, what monster were you fighting? Like, what was the exact situation? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Basically, everyone just needs to stream, and then when anyone dies, you need to take the last 10 seconds, and we can just submit that. Just have a little submit button next to Instead of a
Boom.
death recap, we'll
Look at
submit a
this.
video. There you go. So you guys have all the information. Closing in on 15 minutes left. I kind of have
Okay,
some
sorry
sort
guys,
of
I'm
rapid
missing
fire.
all your dialogue here. Okay. We won't get ascendancy respect either, right? No, next we're getting we're gonna be able to respect. You're gonna have to do another trial and you'll be able to respect. I'm sure you know that already though. No ascendancy respect was a sin idea. I mean, no disrespect, but one thing is make another class from scratch. Another is replay the same class just to try another subclass. Especially since some ascendancies are useless. Okay, apply that exact same logic to having to slog through 20+ hour campaign for a new character as well. I'm willing to bet that they have a campaign Fastlane at some point, because if they want Endgame to be their capstone showcase, you want to have players actually get there. I hear what you're saying, Next, and I don't know the answer, but there are some things that they introduce. It's a way of introducing different mechanics in the leagues through, they sprinkle it in the campaign. For example, in our case, we had the wisps that we saw, and I think it started as early as Act 1. I don't think Grinding Gear Games wants a fast pass lane. We naturally improve our times with the campaign. Like for me, if I look at when I started playing Path of Exile in 3.21 to Settlers League, my campaign time was cut in half completing it. And I suspect the same thing's going to happen in Path of Exile too, but what do I know? I don't want a fast pass. I think that's bullshit. I think that's a big problem with this generation. You guys want everything fast. You don't want to work for shit. You want everything handed to you on a silver platter. No. Roll up your sleeves and do some work. That's my rant. Oh, shit. Sammy, I need some kush. Hey, what's up, Mars? Hey, Lenendove. I tried PoE 2 again, but dude, I had to uninstall it. What? Lenendove. It's punishing and abusive. I just can't spend that kind of time it takes to get past all the FU. Okay, Lenendove, what are you playing, bro? Okay. Where was I? Ooh, you know what? I'm going to put this in the Guildy stash. Whew. And what the fuck, man? Did I finish that map? I made it to level 47 on Amazon before I died, and I'm not a pro player. Wow. That's nice, Eric. Good job, buddy. You would have to take it the same way you have to take meta build. I did not finish.
Stuff. I joked about death recap there. Is there ever going to be any sort of death recap system in PoE 2?
I mean, I'm not against the idea fundamentally, but every time we've ever talked about this, you start to get into a bajillion corner cases that make it
it's a loaded
kind
question.
of hard.
I get it.
Yeah, and so it's not really a question of want. It's a question of like, you know, there's always been something more important, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I guess these are the tough questions, and so I apologize beforehand. Community loves to speculate, and I guess so do I. With that said, can you talk about Chris Wilson and kind of where he's been?
Wow.
There's not really been any official statement anywhere from GGG about that. I think we've had a couple things like third party, a fourth party, but is there anything official you could say where Chris has been?
I mean, he hasn't been working like day to day at our company for quite a long time.
Yeah,
and then recently he also retired from the board. But there's nothing really much else to say about it.
Gotcha.
Really.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any drama, but it just people.
I still talk to him every day, just online, like
Yeah, Co kind of mentioned it earlier. Account sharing's been in the spotlight recently.
Yeah.
You guys have had like a
Elon,
pretty strict
you
rules
suck.
regarding that, as well as RMT in the past. Is there ever going to be any action on that front? Is that a special
Are you
case?
waiting for 1.0?
Do you have
It's
anything to
just-
say?
It's just nothing. I don't think I've got anything to say about this particular issue.
I
Got
figured
it.
as
10-4.
much. I figured I would ask,
Yeah.
but yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's good luck with that.
Will you personally be banning eat? No, just kidding.
Wow.
In an age where people like to pit companies against each other, do you consider yourself competitors to Blizzard, Diablo 4, Last Epoch? Like, how do you view these other companies? Are you trying to beat them in player count, or are you just existing and hoping that the game speaks for itself? How do you look at that?
I mean, I guess I don't really. It doesn't really bother me particularly that, like, other companies, what they're releasing and that sort of stuff. Like, the only thing that ever matters is if, like, if something happens. A thing that is relevant is if something happens in the genre that like moves it forward in a way that we have to respond to, then that's something that we have to like deal with, right? Like that's a thing, for sure. But other than that, like, it's fine. Like, I mean, the nice thing about the genre is that it's not like World of Warcraft where, like, you've got subscribers and you're competing for that. Like, that's an actual like real competition scenario where people aren't going to be really subscribed to more than one MMO.
I don't want.
But in the
these guys
seasonal
coming.
model that we have with in action RPGs, it's kind of fine. Like, you play the game, for however long you play it for, you play another one, and that's fine. Obviously there was like the tension that happened with Last Epoch recently,
Right.
Which was very unfortunate, and I honestly wish it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah, if you could just
like,
coordinate with them in the future and space it out, that'd be great.
I mean, yeah. The thing is, it sounds so
Are
easy.
there
It
back channels?
sounds so easy.
Like, are there back channels between companies? With,
So
with releases?
they messaged us about okay, so they asked me like, okay, like, we're thinking of coming around this time, when are you thinking of coming out? And I'm kind of like, that actually might conflict with something, and that was kind of the last of it. There really wasn't anything else that was said there.
The alarm went off.
So like, but the thing is, I think that what happened is that, like, so we had a date, and look, I don't know how they're thinking internally, but I think that their plan was to come out a little bit after that date. We didn't give them what the exact date was, but we kind of had said, like, in the community, like, sort of like people had sort of vaguely known when we were planning on coming out. And then,
right.
We then got delayed, right? Like, we couldn't make our date, and there's like just nothing I can do about it. I can't come out any earlier, obviously, than what, the time that we can come out, right? Like, it was just, it had got unavoidably delayed. And then, it was like really unfortunate because I actually probably would have delayed an extra week to get out of their way. But we have Easter. We've got Easter,
Right.
and then
Fucking
there's actually
holidays.
another public holiday the weekend after that, which means there's a 3-day week. So we do have a 3-day week. Everyone takes those 3 days off. Like, everyone is put in for time off during those 3 days, right? Like, that week is just dead. It's not happening.
Yeah.
And so what would have happened is if we delayed another week, then that week would have been right after our launch. Which obviously, if we'd just had the launch we just had and everyone was on holiday, that wouldn't have been.
Just to make sure I heard this properly, just to be clear, if those holidays weren't there, you would have moved PoE 2 for Last Epoch?
I would have moved it a week, right? Not in a way that the players would have seen, right?
Hey, that's plenty of time. Yeah, yeah. No,
I would have moved it a week. I wouldn't
really
have moved
cool.
it 2 weeks. I wouldn't have moved it 2 weeks because
there's only so much you can
that
do,
is actually
right? Yeah,
kind of hurt
absolutely.
players.
Yeah.
But a week I would have moved. But yeah, we just couldn't move that week, unfortunately. And so then, and I felt real bad about it as well, because I was like, I don't want to do that to them, right? Like, I don't want to do, like, it's not something I want to do. But at the same time, if we were delaying 2 weeks and then the players like knew that, like, that would just be awful, right? Like, our players would have crucified us for that, and rightly so, right? That would have been terrible. So effectively, like, it just ended up that way. And like, I don't know whether or not it was a good idea for them to then move in response to that. Like, I honestly can't say whether or not that was right or wrong. But I certainly don't feel great about that happening, right? Not amazing. Like, I don't want to ruin their plans in any regard.
Yeah.
To be blunt, though, it's very cool you're even thinking of that. I mean, we live in a day of kind of faceless corporations for a lot of games this size, so that's cool to know. Not only that you guys are talking, but even considering doing stuff like that. I think I speak for many of us when I say, just like you were saying earlier, we love Last Epoch and PoE 2. So in a perfect world, we'd love to be able to, like, do both when they're all shiny and new. So it's great to know you guys are like talking. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again, because as I said, it was really unfortunate, and it really sucked that there was just that holiday thing that like blocked it. It's just like it's just very unfortunate timing, that happened there.
It'll happen. Every once in a while, it'll happen. One of the things in terms of like the issues of now or the issues of today, a lot of people have been asking about the EU server issues. I don't know if there's a specific.
Yeah, so that's just
DDoS.
DDoSs, unfortunately, that are very hard to deal with.
Yeah.
Like there's unfortunately not like a complete solution to DDoSing on the internet. If someone's really doing that stuff. So it isn't a question of if NOS wanting to like pay more money for more servers or anything like that. It's just entirely like, the nightly DDoS comes along and like takes out like 5 or 6 machines, and then if you're having to play on those machines, then that happens, and then they move on to another 5, and like that kind of thing. It's just like very annoying.
Yeah.
Like look, we are investigating more options to try and improve that, but that is the source of that.
Okay, gotcha. I think even saying that is beneficial for a lot of people.
Right.
So
agreed.
Yeah. What else is there? I'm kind of looking through there to see if there's anything. I guess another question I have for you in terms of like analytics, right? PoE is such a game based around numbers and whatnot. For you as a dev and as the game director of PoE 2, do you have like a data point that you're constantly looking at? And if that number goes bad or that number goes positive, it affects not only your mood, but like the direction?
Average player time to death.
Yeah, like what is that number?
Interesting.
The number for me is just concurrent users, just number of people online right now.
Okay.
Because that really, look, if people aren't enjoying the game, they're not going to play it. And this is actually something that, I actually yesterday, like I was talking to Mark, about all of the, all of the stuff, and the thing that he said to me is like he sort of had to remind me of that fact. Like he's like, look, the retention of this PoE 2 launch, like in terms of concurrent users on like weekend to weekend, is higher than any PoE 1 launch we ever had before.
Right.
So it can't be that bad.
I mean, it's a. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand. You have to put things in perspective,
I hate to
right?
admit
Like
it,
when
but
the internet's shouting at you to fix a myriad of issues, if there's a data point you can look at, they're still playing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
They might be mad, but they're still there.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we still obviously there's still tons of things to fix. It's like I don't want to discount that in any
Totally.
regard.
Yeah.
Like on some level, like it's okay, like because.
So Path of Exile 2, there's 107,000 players right now, 107,407, and the 24-hour peak was 204. So all the bitching and complaining, there was still in the last 24 hours, the 24-hour peak was 204,000. And if you guys remember, the biggest one for Path of Exile was 228. How do I remember that? Wow. I'm not good with remembering shit, but I'm pretty sure it was 228,000 for Settlers. The peak is actually higher than last week's launch day, surprisingly. What? Are you sure? Here, let me slide this over. Where's April 4th? No, 238. Sorry, what did you say? Wait, I might be wrong on that. I thought it barely pushed 200. No. No. So Sunday so what are we on Sunday, right? What's today? Today's the 13th. Right? So right now it dipped. But so the peak today was so it was 204 today. 201 on Saturday. 190 on Friday, 185 on Thursday. What's this Sunday? Where's last Sunday? There you go. 246 last week. There's a drop, but still they lost 42,000. 42,000 Sunday to Sunday. That's not a lot percentage wise, right? Of a drop for a game that's getting a lot of criticism, right? So like they make a very valid point. Very valid. Or Jonathan did anyway. The curve looks strong though, given how bad it was. Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, this is steady. This is steady. Like, if you go by, like, kind of all the noise out there, this should be, like, tanking straight down, right? Oh, going like this. This has the same people coming back. And I think a big part of that savior was those 72 hours and those 3 patches right after the Ziz interview that people were like, okay, shit, they're addressing a lot of shit. Bots. Yeah, they're bots. I'm very disappointed. I don't know why he's so against banning Elon. Obviously, we know why. And MTX. He doesn't even go into it.
The thing is, when a million people start to say, you know, the game is bad, the game is terrible, it's hard to even remember yourself, you know, that there's actually a game there that is good, even though there may be problems, you know. So just seeing that and reminding myself of the fact that there are actually a lot of people playing the game is, you know, I think it was certainly important for me to kind of, you know, be like, yeah, you know what, like, sure. The benefit we're getting from all the people yelling is that we know that we need to fix stuff, but we still have a game that people are enjoying,
and that people care,
and that is a good thing.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, we're still doing well, and like, I mean, this launch was still larger than any PoE1, like in terms of absolute numbers as well, right? Like this launch in terms of people online was larger than any PoE1 launch we ever did. And it is approximately what I expected as far as like relative to the other launch. So generally speaking, like what we've always observed is the first launch is you get a number, and then the this is in any market we've entered, and any subsequent launch is 50% of what the first launch was. But then the way you know that you're doing well is that you start growing from there. So you have a number, you go half, and then you're going up like hopefully 5%, something like that, you know, each time after that. And that's how you know an action RPG is doing well. So it's really seeing, like, you know, do people come back next time? You know, like how well do we do there? That'll be the question.
Sure. Yep. We could do a round of final questions and then call it an interview.
Wow,
for
that
me,
was quick.
It's 8 a.m. there. What time is it on Monday, the start of the work
right
week?
now? It's 8 o'clock. You can see the sun rising in the background there, which is blowing out all the camera.
What's the first thing that's going to be on your desk when you get into the office? What are you doing?
So we are going to look into item drops, because a lot of people are saying that the wisps are not rewarding enough, and they should mathematically be. Like, those things give like 300% better, like more. Well, okay, it's not more items; it's more like more the number that we use for like rarity that increases the drops, how good they are, right?
Right.
And it also gives 2 extra drop slots. So effectively, like, there's no reason why they should feel unrewarding, but they do. So therefore, I need to understand what's going on with that. And I spent like quite a lot of time yesterday looking through like the simulations and like seeing what's going on. And like, I've definitely identified that there's something going wrong in the item drop system that I'm not quite happy with. And hopefully, if we fix that, it'll make this the wisps feel better.
Okay.
He's
talking just
so
about the
yeah, that's kind of the
wisps.
thing that I'm going to be probably spending a few hours on this morning.
You
to
got
see
to
if
look
we
at
can,
the whole
come up with some
drop
kind of
rate.
improvement there.
Cool. Fantastic.
I like the first thing I read in chat. 300% of 0 is still 0. Because of course, that's how he feels.
Yeah. I will also say chat erupted mostly in jubilation when he said that you're going to be taking a look at loot. So,
Yeah, I
if it
took
matters, there you
the
go.
temperature of all three chats. W take.
Yeah.
W take.
I'll let
Great.
you know.
Oh, but is it, what's the quotient on based?
Oh.
Base is good and trending.
Base values are trending. Great. Excellent.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Great.
Zeke, Co, any final questions?
I got one.
I had one from my audience. That
Go
might
ahead.
be an easy one.
Yeah.
I'll go last.
Zeke,
I don't know if it's John. This is from my audience. Tell me if it matters because I don't know. Ask him about difficulty scaling with multiple people and if it's been adjusted. At launch, me and 2 others had to stop because it was so difficult.
That's just the game, baby.
That's not an easy.
There wasn't any
Serious,
change.
like-
There wasn't any change from early access's launch, so yeah, it shouldn't be. But I mean, like, it can be that various nerfs like got hit. But I wonder, like, as well, whether that feedback was before or after the change to Monster Life we did. That was a few days in, because we did a pretty substantial change to Monster Life in the sort of mid game.
Well, if
So
they left, they
it's
probably
possible
didn't.
that they might have a better time now if they were playing before that point. So it'll just be a question of that.
Jonathan's like, are they both huntresses and were they parrying?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Hard for me to say without knowing more specifics about exactly what class and exactly what stuff, right?
So I gotta this is just a quick yes or no, but it's a big question close to my heart, especially one that I think would be great for newer players. Any plans to ever have it so I can open up my passive tree and see like import builds or overlay classes over it? So as a newer player, I would have like a really good idea of where to go on this gigantic ass tree.
So this is a thing, and I'm trying to remember. Okay, so we made this feature a while ago, and I can't even remember whether or not we enabled it. Is it even? I don't even know if it's live. We actually did make a feature where you could get a build file from. I think it's probably not live then. Probably if
Yeah, I've never heard of this.
No.
We've never heard of
Sounds
that.
cool.
What is he
So, the
talking
idea was
about?
that you could download a build file and then set that as your thing, and then it would highlight all the nodes of that build.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
amazing. And then you could make like some pre-default ones for new players that are just like super basic but get you.
Well,
through it
here's the
and, like,
thing. That's the part that I don't want to do because I don't want to. So the reason why I'm fine with the build thing where you where you go to a build guide and then you just download the file is that
you're not telling the player how to play.
Yeah, exactly, right? So effectively, like at that point, they've already decided they want to follow someone's guide. So like, therefore, it's fine, right? But at the point where, but if you're just like into the game and then the game's immediately like, why don't you pick from one of these build guides? Like, I'm kind of like, I'm not a fan of that.
No,
you know?
no.
Like, I don't want
No,
to.
no.
Like, I feel like
I
if you want
agree.
to follow a build guide, that's great, but you have to seek it out. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
Very
I
cool.
totally agree with that because
yeah.
I wanted to mention this before. One of the things that I really enjoyed about PoE2 is that I got through the entire thing before it, restarts or whatever.
One sec, sir.
I got through the entire thing without looking up any builds or anything. I was able to like get through it. It
50
was
hours.
fucking
You
tough,
played
but
50
I got
hours.
through it. And then I looked at a build guide and I'm like, wow, I was way off. Holy shit. And then I did the build and I put all the nodes in the proper spot.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, this is like baby shit. I'm just zapping everything. But I could get through it. So I like that
Right.
you don't do it. And also, if you put that in the game, you're gonna make someone like me feel like an idiot. Like I'll start putting things in nodes, and then I'll go like, "What do you suggest?" And like, God damn it!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different things I could see that would be bad about that. But
Importing
I
a
agree with
build
Jonathan
over
in the
is
sense, like,
nice,
if
and-
a player
and
seeks
it
it out, they should
Telling you
be
what
able to.
Optional.
next. That's
Absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. That makes a
Okay.
lot more
That's
sense.
cool though that you guys are thinking about that, because I would love to have all that in game for builds.
Mhm.
Like if we could
Sure.
just open up P and see a little text box in the bottom right that was like, path of building code, paste here. Like that would be amazing.
Now,
Well, in PoE, in PoE 2, I suppose, now that I'm thinking about it, you would also have potentially the capability of having the same file list recommended support gems, like overriding the recommendations that we
Oh.
have, which would allow a build designer to like to like set the gems that you should be using as well, like so that would appear when you open the recommended supports from that.
very useful, yeah.
So
Why don't they just put POB, like in theory, in the game? Like the game knows how many points, right? There's a correlation between our skill points and how many skills we can choose. So, you know how everyone goes into POB and plans it? Why don't you allow to do that in game? So when you level up the game, like we pick, okay, I want this to be the first note. I want this to be the second note. I want this to be the third, fourth. Now, and then when I get over here, I don't want to go here. This is going to be the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20, 21. You know what I mean? They should allow that. So then the game does it. You level up and it assigns that node. Or a pop-up comes up. You put project you put clean shot as your next selected node. Yes, no, yes. That's it. Done.
that would actually be another case. I just thought about that just as you were talking there. So that's
you
actually
could
something that we
have
could do.
like Path of Excel guide masters make like purposefully like this is for new players suggestions, not necessarily like a roadmap, but like here's some suggested stuff for you kind of thing. And that opens up a lot of interesting doors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would.
So,
All
right.
Of course, all optional.
Yeah, I'm curious about how as someone who doesn't make like,
Oh wow,
build
it
guides
is
or
dress
anything,
switch. Holy shit! I didn't know
But
that.
for PoE content, PoE 2 content creators, where that is their livelihood, right, is making build guides. That's how they take ad rev and whatnot. I wonder if they would be against that because you no longer need to seek out a video and watch an ad because it's all in game and there's no monetization, right? So I wonder if you get pushback for that from the creators.
So
They took
So
our jobs.
150,000 people like it, but those 3 streamers.
Yeah, no,
So we
just
probably
wonder-
shouldn't do it.
I
Yeah.
just wonder if you get pushback from them, and to what extent that goes. I don't know. It's an interesting conversation, and it is very much like Code just said: 3 people versus the masses.
It would be very
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
still a consideration for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. We're a little bit over,
That's
but
his
Jonathan,
I'm not
thank you,
interested
Mr. Rogers,
face.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much for
Jesus Christ.
Coming to our neighborhood.
for
Yeah,
coming
thank
to our
you.
neighborhood. Yeah. Anything you want to say here before we wrap it up so you can get on with your day. It's only 8 a.m. there. Jeez.
Yeah, right. So you can go to work.
I mean, just like, it was really nice chatting to you guys. Like I had a fun time and, I'll go in, we'll start working on stuff and hopefully, like people will like the changes we're making. I guess that's the main thing, right?
Yeah. Fantastic. We're going to do shout outs here for Zeke, Co, and I. But Jonathan, feel free to go on about your day. We really appreciate it. We're going to shift over to this. And we'll see you next
Thank you
time.
so much, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're
Thank you
welcome
very much
on
for
the
having
show
me.
whenever.
Thanks, Jonathan.
We'd love
It's
to have
awesome.
you on.
Nice. Nice. What do you guys think? What did you guys think of the interview? I know this was a while back, like earlier today. Oh my God, I missed 1 million messages. Holy shit. Sorry, everyone. Hey, Christian. Oh my God. A lot better than the last one in regards to Jonathan. Well, he clearly saw how he looked, so I don't think you'll be seeing that again. He was very defensive in the Ziz interview, and that came off the wrong way. Okay, what did I miss over here on Twitch? Zarkor, what discussion am I supposed to bring in on here? Getting to tier 10 maps in this version of the game was a breeze. While the new map drops, I didn't need to do 20 level. I was just about to bitch about, like, it took me forever to find the Nexus. Like, where did I start? I started over here. Was it because I could have went right here? Like, I'm just stupid? That's probably it. Where is it? Here we go. This. Oh, fuck. Like, I don't have 1 point. Not a 1. Because I haven't cleansed, right? Don't I gotta cleanse? And look at all the maps. Just a long, strong, yet civil debate about where to draw the line on struggle. Well, you gotta look at why your player's struggling. And not one or two. Like, why are the major players struggling? Yeah, good point, Nepody. I never thought of that. Yeah, like, it should be highlighted. I think GG's at risk of being forced to give the players the game they want, but I don't know if they can maintain their business model under that scheme.
Shocking.
I don't think. Oh shit. I don't think GGG's gonna give up that quickly. Oh, here it is. Oh no, that's a tower. You know what? What do I want to do? Do I want to go to the Nexus right away? So, corrupted. Where did I see the Nexus thing? I'm just wondering. Yeah, it won't let me do it. Okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna go here. What a horrible thing. Being forced to do the campaign would be like being forced to do tier 1 to tier 9 maps first before being able to do tier 10s. Yeah, I'm not a fan. As you guys heard, I'm not a fan of getting rid of the campaign. Sorry. I'm on team campaign side. Right now, people don't like the campaign because of what they did with the update. Now it's gonna get better. Like, look at this shit, you know? Monster speed is still a problem in my opinion. You know, a lot of the acts, the maps have been, you know, made more efficient. in some cases a little bit smaller. You're not going to be running into dead ends. The fact that currency is a problem with some people, I would say a lot of people. So which means you can't really like level up your builds. Power up. Some are struggling more than others. So this is all a recipe to, you know, put a sour taste in your mouth with the campaign. But to me, the campaign is about figuring out what you want to do with your build. Obviously, leveling up your build. Fuck's sakes. No, you shouldn't be able to skip it. Nope, I don't agree with that. This isn't D4. You're just watering down the game, in my opinion. Can I fucking move? So did you notice the speed of everyone there? Like, of the enemies? Like, that's these guys that just came to me, that's normal speed. Normal. Oh, fuck. But some areas... I don't care about the difficulty. Keep the friggin' speed of the enemies. I don't care, but fix crafting, fix loot like drops, currency. It's got to be better. I shouldn't be, you know, 30 maps into the game and now I have 20 exalts. You know, I shouldn't be this far into mapping and now starting to finally see drops like that, because the maps have such, you know, I've juiced the maps to have so much rarity. And that's what it is. The players that are not experiencing problems with currency is because they're playing rarity. Probably. On this, I'm with Sammy. Fix looting campaign, and for the love of God, give us crafting system, not a gambling one. No, you got, and right now it's too much of a casino. So make it so casino deterministic. Right now it's casino. So just make it a little bit more over here where it's a little bit more deterministic, and amp up the drops in the campaign. Okay? I don't know. I was gonna go on a rarity rant, but amp it up and give us better crafting that's a little bit better on the deterministic side. Again, I don't want guaranteed crafting where every time I slam, it's what I want. And you can keep the game difficult. I'm telling you, Jonathan, this is the way. You can keep your hard, difficult game. Just give the players the tools. That's it. It's that simple. Clearly, you're not disenchanting enough. Nope. You know what? Right after the Ziz interview, we logged in, and that's what I was doing. And I was going in and out of town every 10 minutes. It sucked. I disenchant, but I'm not picking up everything. Come on. That's the gameplay you want? I can't believe that's what he wants. No way.
From above.
You forced me to do it. I would love scouring orbs. Not gonna happen. The way Jonathan talks about it is not gonna happen. Need to be disenchanting, guys, all the time. Sadly, it's true. Sadly, it's true. Look, what Jonathan said about disenchanting absolutely works. It's absolutely the ticket. Right after that interview, I went into my stash and I disenchanted everything. And yeah, I went from 1 regal orb to like 4. What the fuck is that? Holy shit. Is the map complete? Map is complete. 4 is still not enough. Yeah. The thing about the currency, you know, and I said this in one of my videos and I say it on my streams. When you don't have currency, you second guess your moves. You hesitate, right? Like this is what I should have in the campaign. This. And maybe there are players that have it in the campaign. Right? I got 20 exalts. Now, when I get a good drop, I'm not going to hesitate to slam it. Right? I told the story of when I was going against Viper. I went in, she slapped me like 5 times. I died like 5 times, and I'm like, I don't have the damage. What am I going to do? I had a crossbow in my stash, but I only had 2 exalts. I'm like, I don't have a choice. It forced my hand. And I slammed it, and thank God I got fizz damage on it. You know, I regaled it, and then I exalted it twice, and I got it. And I went back, and I think I died another 2 more times, but the damage was there, and I killed her. Boom, done. But when you don't have, when you're limited with the crafting resources, you hesitate on whether or not to slam an item, I guess is what I'm saying. Especially in the campaign. Ooh, I'm level 20. This is a you know, I'm probably gonna get a higher level item soon. Should I, you know, you play that game. Anyway. He did say he's gonna play a disenchantless run. Where? When did he say that, Nepity? Did he really say that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got all 15s. Like, again, another thing. I am level 75. Okay? Level 75. And I don't have one 4-socketed. Not one. Why? I only have gotten lesser jewel orbs. I have not gotten any of the other ones. Level 75. 75. Not one. Oh, I got one greater essence. One. Use Val Orb on them. LOL easy. Yeah. Easy? Right. I vowed like 20 last season, last league, and it never hit once. 20. But again, I only have 9 Vals. Is that what I'm going to use them for? Yep. In theory, you're right. Just Val your gem. You'll get those slots. In theory, you're 7,000%. But in reality, I don't know. I guess maybe you guys have better luck than me, but I did it last league. And it never hit once. Imagine we discovered Jonathan is sweatiest, most hardcore, maximum overcharged pro of PoE 2. We have seen him play a little bit during the lead up to early access. I don't know who he was with. It might have been the Zizaran Gamescom interview. I don't remember. But there was a moment where he kind of stepped in and took over the keyboard. And I don't remember which class it was. It might have been the warrior. But he did look, he did look pretty good at what he was doing. But, these guys have been playing this game for much longer than us. He was with the Prime Minister of Japan. He had perfect dodge. You remember him playing with the Sony guy? Oh, yes, that guy. Yes. Yes. Perfect. He was on the warrior, Adam? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay, we might have to... Guys, I actually sold 2 items today. Okay, I'm not going to waste your time watching this, so let me just dump those. I did want to go get another coffee, but... Oh, nice. Ignite. Yep. See you later. Where's my map? So here we go. Oh, we got 4? No rarity? And he's using himself as a template for balancing the game. We are fucked. No, I think he realizes you know, he did admit that they're trying to the fuck, where am I going here? We got to go here. Oh, really?
Just fury.
Well, excuse me. Fuck, I gotta use an exalt now. Thank you. There you go. Take my currency that you're unwilling to give me. There you go. Happy? He literally knows all the moves. He created it.
My return to the
Yeah.
forest.
Oh my God. Great. This is going to be interesting. Oh.
Easy prey. Storm call. Too weak. Too slow.
Suck on that. Fucking hate proximity. I think we're gonna have to slow play this. Fizz. Sorry guys, I gotta concentrate. I gotta concentrate, chat. I knew I should have went to go get my coffee. I'm getting you last. I'm gotta get rid of these bystanders over here that are just fuckers. These guys are still alive. Jesus. There's a million rares in here. Oh. All right. Sorry, guys. I'm not ignoring you, okay? Just wanna... This shit can hit the fan real quick over here. And it's not like I got a lot of places to run to. Yeah, fuck off.
Shocking.
I don't even know what got me there. That's it. I got one more portal. God damn it. We're not... I'm just gonna have to slow down.
Barely broke a sweat.
Let me go get that piece of shit that killed me.
I shall overcome. Storm.
Okay. We got 4 rares over there. Oh, fuck. No, no, no. That's what I gotta watch out for. I just don't want to get smothered. That's where shit goes downhill. Fuck's sakes, can I move?
Barely broke a sweat.
There's so much going on here. Okay, we got that guy. One slot, of course. Get out of my way.
Nowhere to run.
Oh, shit. Get out of that corner. Oh, we still haven't killed all the rare moths. Oh, I think there's one on the other end. I think there's one on the other end that I didn't see, and there might be more over here. Back up. Okay. Yeah, I could have sworn I saw one over here. We haven't killed all the rares. Oh, great. Purple shit.
Not yet.
Ooh. No, I only have my first two. I have not done the third and fourth. I just noticed my health bar. Sons of bitches. Oh my god, thank god I looked. Thank god I looked. I think this goes around. It does. Of course. What the fuck? How did he get behind me?
Storm call.
No. What the fuck was that? Defeat the what? What the fuck is this? No, I need to loop. I need some breathing space from you. Oh shit! Suck it!
So, this is the
This is the first. Okay. Okay. I got a greater jewel's orb now. I'm good. Oh shit. I'm okay now.
The source of corruption was a creature? I wish I could perform a detailed autopsy of its corpse.
Yay. Good job,
Its
Sammy.
nations alone would quickly kill us.
Thanks, Sarkor.
It looks to be significantly more mutated than other beings we've encountered. I don't like having insufficient data on new threats. We are vulnerable until we know more.
All right. Complete tier 2 plus corrupted nexus. Got the Pathfinder, eh? All right, what does the map look like? Okay, so it cleansed the corruption. All right. We found the Citadel, boys and girls. So I guess naturally we're going to go here. Which is, yeah, and there's another tower here. So that's probably how we're going to path. Now, is it worth for me to go here? I don't know if there's a lot. Okay, let's just go to this. Okay, we'll go trenches, backwash, and then bluff. Are these your first cleanse maps? Yes, they are, Nepity. Yep. They are. I can't believe it. I've been bitching and complaining. Oh my god, too funny. Too funny. All right. Yo, yo, yo. Plus 25 to spirit. Hey, we got our first points. Holy schmucks. Fuck it.
Hello.
I don't care. Don't care what they're worth. Oh my god. Thank God. Later, Zarkor. Whatever.
Using the cleansed corruption you retrieved, I was able to modify the device to accommodate. Time is of the essence.
magnetic ground. Schedule 1 has more players. Schedule 1 has more players than PoE 2, so that means it's a better game. Well, I guess it depends how you view things. Oh shit! Why did I not like? I don't know why. Why did you agree to do this map? Hello? Especially.
Storm call. Barely broke a sweat.
Let's just get this over with. The quicker I'm out of here, the better. Oh shit! What the?
In my sights.
Oh good, there's no. I got a jam. My crossbow jammed. Oh, look, I thought he was dead. Another rare came to join. Here you go, buddy. I got a special present for you. Here you go. There you go. He teleported behind me. Oh my god, there's another 100 rares in here. Oh! Kobe. Oh, there it is.
Quick and lethal.
Oh my god, it's so fucking choppy. Are you gonna come and fight?
I shall overcome.
No!
Nature's fury.
Fucker. Yeah, that's the last time I'm doing this with this map. Game froze. Oh, that's the wrong one. Wrong button, Sammy. Okay. Oh, there's a guy up there. Hey, Slimby. Sorry, guys. There's fire everywhere here, so I can't take my face. I can't take my eyes off the screen. Sorry. This guy's. I'm dead. What the fuck does this guy have? Fucking bullshit. That's all I say. I call bullshit. Just. Call bullshit on my gameplay. That's what I'm calling bullshit on. What was I thinking
From above.
with this burning ground shit? Oh, here we go. The LSD bubbles. He's got proximity and the LSD bubbles. Can you imagine having the luxury? I almost want to fail this map.
In my sights.
I thought he was dead. I thought I killed him. And fucking vomit there too. Yeah. All right, let's get this over with.
Too weak, too slow.
Crossbow jammed again. Oh fuck, I can't go around. Please let this be the last one. I'm like over this map. See you later. Bye-bye. I'm out of here. When am I gonna LSD bubbles and
Speak.
oh my god. Oh my god. Sorry, guys. I don't mean to ignore. Where was I going? Oh, yeah. That was pretty cringe. So I had to stay on my tippy toes. Ooh. What? Oh, I see what I did there. We're gonna do something with those. Wow. LE this Friday? It's actually Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, it's Thursday. I hope it's Thursday. I hope it's Thursday. I took the day off. What am I looking at? Oh, yeah, over here. I made a big mistake. Ooh, schmucks. Let's see. What class am I gonna play? Oh, I haven't. Hey, Spock. Sorry, I didn't see you. I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. I haven't given it much thought, to be honest with you. We'll figure it out. I just want you guys to know that I still didn't go get my coffee. My second cup. Hope you guys are happy. Okay, we're running to the rares.
Prepare yourself.
Oh, that actually does. Oh no! What the fuck? Who has tornadoes?
From above.
I feel like I'm in trials. Who am I hunted by? Oh fuck! It's lightning! Get it. Yeah, baby. Look at that. There you go. There you go. Going the right way? Oh, it's probably this way. Where you going, buddy? Where you going?
Nowhere to run.
Where you going, bro? Bro, I'm right here. I'm right here. You don't have to run.
Patience. Storm.
Fucking stop jamming, for fuck's sakes. Fucking crossbows jamming every fucking 2 minutes. Yeah, pick that up. Thank you. It's got fucking proximity, so we gotta play this game. Yeah, he's gonna one-shot me with the fucking lightning thing.
Too weak, too slow.
Excuse me. What? How many fucking rares are on this map? No, there's still more. Why aren't they popping up? Oh, there he is. Well, since I'm here,
Correct. Fight with me. From above. Shadow commute. Bone to dust.
where the fuck? Where did they go?
Yes. Embrace.
Don't mind if I do. No, thank you, Wisp. Are you really gonna make me go all the way around? Yeah, I guess so. So we have 2 checkpoints on this map. 1, 2, 1 north, 1 south.
Storm call.
Hallelujah. Oh my god. Wow. I knew it. That's not enough intel. Okay, we're gonna fuck around with that. This is gonna work. What do I need? I need 108 and... Okay, so basically I need 4 nodes. 4 nodes, we're gonna get 26 decks. Oh shit. And there's 31 there. That's also... Okay, we're gonna have to slam that one. Okay. That one, where is it? Right here. This one is a must. Gotta look at those two. Yowza. Yowza. What? You need your regals, boys. All right, everybody. That is so we cleansed the Nexus. Oh. This is next. And we found our first Citadel. So we're off to the races. Figure out what to do. But a shit ton of maps, and I can't zoom out anymore like I used to. But anyway, and we are level 75. But we're gonna call it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and hope you guys all had a good Sunday. What's going on? LOL, the interview. They dared Jonathan to stream his campaign. Yeah, he said he might actually consider. Not the campaign, but some things. Anyway. All right. Good night, everybody. Good night.